How old are you now? How old are you now? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Natasha. We wish you well and many, many more. We appreciate your work in making the PEC to be in good standing and its administration to be on point at all times. We really thank you. Of course, there's a bunch of people sitting somewhere at the back on the left corner. If it's not my right, who were not singing, they will organize the gifts during lunch. I must take this opportunity in conclusion to recognize all my 3 deputy chairpersons. Thank you very much for making it here and making it possible. But of course, today marks a birthday of an 82-year-old young mother and a friend, my mother, the greatest mother-father of all times, who ran a successful shebeen and manufactured out of me an executive mayor, and I say to her, happy birthday, May. I will continue to love you. And please continue to rest in peace. No, it's fine. There's a reason. When my mother passed on 8 years ago, she actually gave me a call in the morning and said she needed some airtime. She's not particularly well. And I said to her, I'm living in Mafikeng, and I said to her, I'm going to Lichtenberg. When I get to Lichtenberg, I'll buy you airtime. I was going to a meeting which was pressing and political. So when I got to Lichtenberg, I got a call that she's not well and she has been rushed to a clinic. And I was further told that in the clinic there's no ambulance to take her to hospital. And she passed on that day. So this thing keeps on catching up with me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we must recognize amongst us, and we are the most fortunate amongst provinces. The president of Salga has joined us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the only one who's got the rights and privileges to ask the president of Salga, Councillor Stoffile, to stand so the PMA can recognize him. Thank you very much, President, for gracing our Members' Assembly. We are humbled. A very good morning and a warm welcome to the 2022 Salga Provincial Members' Assembly Northwest. Where you are sitting, this is a province of heroes and heroines. This is the province that manufactures leaders and stars. This is the province of Philemon Masinga. This is the province of Munna Ule Saleng, who is single-handedly Orlando Pirates, but part of a team. He was scheduled to be with us, but because we know Pirates is playing, and without him, Sundowns will agree there's no Pirates, he couldn't make it here in person. This is a province of Kaspanyovest. Kulichana. This is the province of Presley Chwenyahai. This is the province of Comrades Marathon champions, you name them. Edward Mutibi in 2019, Tete Dijana 2022. This is the province of Moses Kotani, J.B. Marks, then Clome. This is the province of Uncle Steve. This is the province of Tandimu Dise. This is the province of Dumandleleni. This province can never run short of role models and examples. This province must learn to write its own history. This is a province of Dr. Silas Mudiri Mulema. It's the province of Dick Muntsiwa. This is the province of Dr. Ruth Sehomutsi Mompati. This is the Northwest Province. We muddy it all the time, but this is the province. At some point we must pause and reflect and ask ourselves difficult questions to say, why we, this generation, do we opt to muddy and bloody this outstanding province of our fathers and mothers who contributed so much to where we are? We're standing on a strong foundation of men and women who sacrificed. Bushi Mape is one of them. The same Bushi Mape, the Premier of the Northwest, is one of them, one of a few who spent time in Robben Island for us to be here where we are without any threat or intimidation that this gathering is unlawful. This is where it begins. Back to basics, strengthening oversight and accountability for improved service delivery in local government. Our message to the PMA this morning is premised on the borrowed words from an African slave who refused to die a slave, but an unmatched liberator of all times, who mandates us this morning, and I quote, "Whatever your work life is, do it well." A man should do his job so well that the living, the dead, and the unborn could do it no better. Close quote. Dr. Martin Luther, the King, speaks to us. He is one of our own who was stolen from us, but refused to remain stolen. He left here a slave, but died an unmatched liberator. We, Salga, are the voice and the sole representative of local government. We dare not forget. These, the 22 Provincial Members' Assembly, is convened at an opportune time for a democratically elected local government leadership shortly after our initial public assessment, commonly known as the 100 days in office. And this gathering presents us with an opportunity to scrutinize and to peer review one another on whether we indeed remain committed to the delivery of services. At this point, political leaders have registered sufficient gains that can be shared as best practices. Also, it exposed the COVID-19 pandemic and its dreadful restrictions with a completely adverse impact on the global, national, provincial, and local economy, as well as related economic development opportunities. These restrictions, Deputy Chair, further hindered the provision of services to our community. Sadly, as we attempt to recover from the pandemic, we enter a horrific era where there is intimidation, kidnapping, and killing of councillors and municipal officials. A very sad trajectory in our life. A very unfortunate incident happened in Mpumalanga. It is becoming a norm in KwaZulu-Natal. It is now spiraling to our province and many other provinces. And as I indicate, an incident just happened recently at Ratlow local municipality just on Monday, where officials were forcefully removed from their offices by a group who claimed to act on behalf of the community. As we speak, the Khosira Mutsiri Muilwa local municipalities offices have been closed by a group of people calling themselves a business something forum or whatever they call themselves these days, claiming that they reject the seconded municipal manager. And so are the days of our lives as mayors, speakers, and councillors. Every day, our lives are exposed to danger with minimal or no security at all. It is therefore important that we call on the provincial and national government to really look at the welfare of councillors. We find it improper that government departments are protected by the South African police, but we in the same government have to fend for ourselves, and there are no police officials in municipalities. We find it regrettable that MPLs have houses, but mayors, speakers, and whips and other councillors have no accommodation that has been cancelled through a circular by an official of government. You mayors who have houses, continue with them and sustain them. You who don't have yet, you can have. What inconsistency is that? A circular, tampering with the welfare. And I'm citing these as an example. I have raised many of these issues with the President when the opportunity arose on your behalf. I asked the President and the Minister, you are saying we must procure vehicles at 700,000. No problem. Tell us which vehicle we must procure to work in the rural areas where we work. I made an example and I said, Minister and Premier, a Toyota Baki is 1 million today in the market. Which car must we procure? I will stop here because every time I talk about the welfare of a person called a councillor, I become very emotional. For we were cursed even before we were born. Despite the fact that we were comforted that the numbers of our hairs were numbered and known by God, the good Lord, even before we were born. We do not dispute the fact that we were known and called by name even before we were born. But why is it that our peers and other spheres of government curse us so much? Why are we treated differently? Every speaker who speaks in any platform, be they MECs or ministers, will tell you municipalities are corrupt, they don't have capacity, they are hopeless. Even as we have not concluded 1 year in office, we were born with the tag that we are corrupt, we are useless, we are reckless, and. This narrative must change, but it must start with our peers who are in government. We are not a subordinate sphere of government. We are an equal sphere of government. The difference is we are a local sphere, others are a provincial sphere and national sphere. We were elected through the same ballot. We have to treat one another with respect. So says the Constitution. When we appear before the legislature, we ourselves appear as honorable members. We appear as public representatives. We must be treated with utmost care and respect. We accord our fellow brothers and sisters who are in the legislature. Half the time, if not all the time, when we appear there, we are reduced to non-entities. These can be sustained. I'm not saying the following because it's my mother's birthday. I've already put a disclaimer on that. I speak on behalf of 22 municipalities in the province, and therefore I do not speak my position. On a more positive note, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to announce to this August gathering that there has been a drastic shift in our municipalities' submission of the annual finance statements. This year, on the 31st of August, 20 municipalities submitted their annual financial statement, which is a remarkable improvement from only 10 that submitted in the previous period. Salga will continue to support municipalities to improve in this area year on year. To our member municipality, we have no more excuses in failing to hold each other accountable for the ongoing poor state of municipalities. And I repeat, we have no more excuses in failing to hold each other accountable for the ongoing poor state of municipalities. The Auditor General's MFMA reports continue to paint a bleak state of affairs, poor municipal finance governance, poor oversight by the leadership, manifesting through absence of political will, are amongst the many serious causes of sleepless night, and these cannot happen under our watch anymore. Director of Proceedings, our country and the province are facing unprecedented myriads of socio-economic pandemics and endemics, amongst them gender-based violence, crime, human trafficking, substance abuse, poverty, inequalities, and unemployment. The Assembly is invited to reflect emphatically towards these harrowing realities. To eradicate inequalities and promote development and empowerment of women, the institution, through the Salga Women's Commission, has taken enormous strides in the right direction. Women issues are tackled through the gallant female councillors and members of the Women Multi-Party Commission caucus in local municipalities under the leadership of district chairpersons and the able, ever consistent and ever smiling Provincial Commissioner Hahu Mati. We appreciate your leadership. At the 2022 Women Commission Lekgotla, a commitment was made by the provincial government to support municipalities in their quest to empower women in the true practical sense, not in theory and speeches. As part of the Commission's plan of action for the ensuing year, Salga will follow through on this commitment to ensure that women empowerment and development goals are realized. Since the last Provincial Members' Assembly in 2021 and the Provincial Elective Conference in 2022, the organization has striven to implement adopted resolutions. We have not succeeded in all of them, but amongst them we have maintained an ongoing interface with the Northwest Provincial Legislature, the provincial government, and participated in parliamentary engagements such as select committees and NCOP provincial weeks. We have meaningfully played a critical role in the municipal governance and intergovernmental space through the Speakers Forum, the DDM councils, and technical fora such as the Municipal Managers Forum. We have strengthened the IGR, partnerships and stakeholder relations in an ongoing program, and positives are being realized out of this. We have, as Salga, been supporting municipalities on the professionalization of the sector and meaningfully participating in municipal recruitment drives. These include capacity building initiatives and programs aimed at both officials and councillors. And we must say, on behalf of Salga Northwest and Salga Northwest, that we welcome the amendment of the Systems Act, which seeks to depoliticize administration at municipal level, which says to all of us, if you are a politician, stay on your lane. You can't be a politician and an official at the same time. However, if you are an official, stay on your lane. You can't be both. We appreciate. However, we argue vehemently that this law can not only be applicable at local government. Who says to Parliament that politicization of the administration is at local government only? For politicization of the administration is across the board. We therefore do not need a law that is only addressing this problem only at local government level. We need it across the board so that there is consistency. Ladies and gentlemen, Salga has not been conducting its work in isolation, but rather in collaboration with stakeholders from both the public and private sector, some of which are in our midst today. Just to cite a few of such collaborations, and for effectively resolving the challenges of municipalities in the province and improving their MFMA audit outcomes, Salga, the Provincial Treasury, and COCTA are in the process of developing a framework for a collaborative multi-stakeholder approach for municipal support and interventions. The initiative is in line with the legislative prescripts on intergovernmental relations and will undoubtedly strengthen Salga's municipal audit support programs. Ladies and gentlemen, we continue to argue that we are a province that manufactures leaders and stars. Budaza was not born in this province, but is a product of Mabana. Lucas Khadebe was not born from here, but he was made to shine by Mabatu Kicks. So we produce them, we make them shine. Join me in celebrating yet another manufactured leader of our shores. And let's congratulate the Northwest House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders on their production of yet another gem from our province. Ladies and gentlemen, Khosi Thabo Seatlolo Wabarolong Borapulana has been elected as the national chair of the House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders in our country, Northwest. We have no doubt that Khosi Satlolo will continue to represent us well. He has served as one of the longest deputy chairs. Very young, very astute, very clear. You can throw a lot of mud and blood and anything at a good leader, it will not stick. For we were known by name, known and called by name, even before we were conceived. Program Director, whilst the above specified highlights serve to refer to the organization's implemented key programs, we are faced with historical and ongoing unsurmountable challenges. Firstly, there is a prevailing culture of non-payment for municipal services, not only by community members, but by business and government entities. And this is deeply instilled now in ratepayers, both citizens and government departments. We are happy that the MSC for the Treasury is here in our midst, and she will issue a directive that all of government departments that all Salga municipalities must be paid, and the Speaker of the Provincial Legislature will conduct oversight on this payment and non-payment. Thank you, leadership, for your commitments. We are humbled. Secondly, the space we operate in is jammed with inadequate intergovernmental relation practices and constant poor municipal governance. Political relations between organized labor, legislature, and the provincial government should tangibly be automatic, yet relations remain distant. We insist we don't have a problem with interventions, but interventions by provincial and national spheres in our municipalities must be exercised with utmost consultation. We will no longer accept administrators who are sent to our municipalities to intervene who have never set foot in a municipality. We will, as a collective, begin to reject this thing. Intervention by administrators in our municipality must be by professionals who match the same qualifications, experiences, and competencies of senior managers. This state of affairs must apply to secondments as well. Those who are intervening and those who are seconded must meet or surpass the requirements prescribed for senior managers. As we move towards conclusion, and I will leave you with this opening address, I want to borrow from yet another slave who left Africa a slave but died a mother of the nation. And she says, to local government I rise. And she says to local government, you can't lament, you can't cry anymore. The time for you to take a stance and say, I rise, and rise in the true sense is now. And she says, you may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trot me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room, just like the moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I love like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard? You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the hearts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I am a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind the nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise. I rise, I rise, I rise. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Long live the chair. Long live the chair. Thank you very much. That was very inspiring. Indeed, you are welcome to the Provincial Members Assembly. This is Northwest. This is Northwest. When you listen to the chair, you must just know that this is just how Northwest is. Riana Kirbakhaiju. Welcome, President of Salga. Welcome, Mama Tlale, MEC of Provincial Treasury. I am going to invite the National Executive Committee member deployed to Northwest, Councillor Neoma Sekela, all the way from the Northern Cape, to come and deal with presentation on key policy developments. Let's welcome Councillor Neoma Sekela with a warm round of applause. We can do better than that.
Thank you, Program Director. I struggled to arrive this morning, President. I was talking to the chair, and I said to him, I'm going to arrive. And the unfortunate part, President, was that for the past few months, I was not feeling well. And I want to put a disclaimer to you that my absence in the PC of Salga in the Northwest was not deliberate, but was due to being handicapped. But allow me, Program Director, just to acknowledge our President of Salga, the Provincial Chair of Salga Northwest, my friend Ndate Mulefe, and also allow me to acknowledge the chairperson of Salga. Now let me pass that one. The Speaker of the Provincial Legislature, Honorable Susana Janji, MEC of Kokta, Honorable Lena Miha, the Chairperson of the Provincial House of the Traditional Leaders, Kosi Mabe, our host Executive Mayor of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, fellow NEC members, Men Niki Webam, or Num, pardon me, Councillor Seba Mutlawi, I think he's also my friend. All the mayors, executive mayors present, speakers, chief whips, MMCs, municipal managers, and senior managers from all our municipalities in the Northwest Province, the CEO of Salga, and also the Salga administration, media, and guests, and all protocol observed. President, because I'm under your stewardship, my task in this Provincial Members Assembly is not so difficult. It's just to outline our key policy directives as Salga.
And I'm standing here not on my own, but under the leadership of President and on behalf of the National Executive Committee of Salga in the country. Once again, Provincial Chair, I was listening to you attentively. You were robust, very clear. You were giving a clarity of thought to the issues. And these matters that you are raising, that needs for us as Salga to engage on, where we are regarded as the stepchild and daughters of local government, as if we are orphans and we cannot represent ourselves, must come to an end. In fact, it's the same thing that applies in the Northern Cape, President. I must indicate where I come from, where in our backyard you have massive wealth and you still have towns ravaged by poverty. Where you have big companies in operation, there must be the absence of poverty in that environment. We cannot forever be subjected to those matters. And I can stand you here, President, indicating Provincial Chair and Program Director. We cannot be subjected as orphans and stepchilds and daughters of this government. We are a local government sphere, and we deserve the same respect of those who are serving in the provincial legislatures and national parliament. We are equals. And this thing of ourselves be regarded as some people somewhere there, President, is something that we need to deal with in the next NEC once and for all, and deal with the elephant in the room. Program Director, allow me to quickly indicate the following to you, that the planning and success of the Provincial Members' Assembly is a result of the hard work of the PEC through the national staff of Salga in the country, and we appreciate that. As we express our sincere gratitude to the collective leadership of Salga under the stewardship of Ndati Molefe, who made this event a reality and a success. My task is quite simple and explicit. It is largely to provide a summarized report of the key policy advances made by Salga National Executive Committee since the elective conference held in March. Structured engagement with COCTA. Following the elections of the new National Executive Committee, an introductory meeting was scheduled between the new members of the Salga Presidency and the Ministry of COCTA. In light of the challenges experienced in the past in convening meetings between the Salga Presidency and the previous ministers, a proposal was made and accepted that monthly structured engagement should take place. To date, amongst other matters, the following issues have been on the agenda. 1, the delisting of Salga as a Schedule 3A public entity. 2, proposals for the review of local government legislation. 3, accreditation of Salga Competency Assessment Center. 4, upper limit notices for councillors and senior managers. 5, attack on councillors, municipal officials, traditional leaders, and even kidnapping of municipal officials. Program Director, without going into the detail, I summarize key development on each of the following aforementioned areas. the delisting of Salga, as I elaborate. By way of a background, Salga was listed as a PFMA Schedule 3A public entity in 2002. This listing of Salga has various unintended consequences that were unforeseen in 2002 or were deliberately ignored. The implications of these consequences are linked to Salga's meeting the key requirements of a public entity in that Salga is not a national government business enterprise. Salga is not established by national legislation, rather by a non-statutory legal instrument, that is the Constitution. Salga is not fully or substantially funded from the National Revenue Fund, nor it is funded from other money imposed in terms of the national legislation. And Salga is accountable to its members in terms of the Constitution. Based on the above, it was evident that the Salga was erroneously listed on the 19th of July 2002, and as such, the National Conference resolved that Salga should be delisted but continue to account for the use of its resources. Following engagements with the Minister of COCTA, has now formally concurred with Salga delisting, including sustaining the Salga equitable share allocation in terms of the form of a donation. The delisting will only be effective from the start of the new financial year, being the 1st of April in 2023, President. Proposal for the new review of local government legislation. The 1998 White Paper on Local Government, which directed that fundamental transformation is required, gave rise to the enactment of 5 core pieces of legislation to govern local government. This legislation plays a guiding role in our local government system and ultimately ensures that what is outlined in the Constitution is met. 22 years into democracy and democratic local government, Salga has posed the question whether the legislation adequately equipped local government to fulfill its developmental mandate and meet the related expectations and demands. This question was posed at the backdrop of 22 years implementation experience, and therefore this is an opportune time to assess if the intended objective have been achieved. In engaging the COCTA Ministry, there is a general agreement on the Salga's proposal for a holistic review of local government legislation. This work commenced in earnest with both the Council of Speakers and Council of Mayors to deal with this aspect, having had the benefit to reflect on key proposed challenges to legislation. This process is ongoing and will continue to engage with municipalities. Accreditation of Salga Competency Assessment Center. Salga secured funding from CETA for the purpose of the establishment of competency-based assessment center, with the support of a service provider, a custom-designed competency framework for local government and 3 levels of local government executive assessment centers were developed and piloted during the last term of office. Salga, however, experienced challenges pertaining to the recognition of the content and validity of the Salga Municipal Leadership Competency Assessment Center. Some municipalities reported that COCTA informed them not to use the Salga Assessment Center, but rather they should use theirs. In this regard, we were informed that some of the MECs refused to endorse the recommendations. Appointment as a process is considered as being non-compliant with the provisions of the COCTA circular, which prescribes service providers to be utilized by municipalities to conduct assessment. After a failed attempt to secure cooperation from COCTA, Salga obtained a legal opinion which in essence validates the Salga's role in assessing competency and deems COCTA conduct as per their secular unlawful and unconstitutional. It's a victory. It's a victory, President, to Salga. It is therefore in the context of these difficulties that the matter has been escalated to the COCTA ministry with a view to obtain a full recognition of the Salga Competency Assessment Center. There is nothing wrong for Salga to do its assessment internally, unless otherwise our own government and our ministers and MECs, they don't know what they are dealing with. And we need to confront some of these things. The upper limits of remuneration for councillors and senior managers. Members will recall that the last upper limits notice for councillors issued in June 2022, concerns have been raised with COCTA pertaining to the deletion of the 300 data allowance and uncertainty pertaining to capacity building program for councillors. We can't bring uncertainty, President. Councillors must be empowered at all material times. When a councillor starts his first term as a councillor, the administration must make sure that they get the necessary universities, they register, they empower themselves. So we can't allow confusion amongst ourselves. These two issues were once more raised quite sharply during the Salga Council of Speakers, Council of Mayors, and the recently held local government summit. The COCTA ministry had now duly issued an addendum to the upper limits notice to correct and clarify the shortcomings of the 2021-2022 upper limits notice. As it relates to the municipals senior managers, the remuneration regime for municipal staff separates senior managers from all other staff below senior managers. The remuneration for senior managers are determined by the Minister of COCTA through the upper limit notice, whereas that of other staff members are determined through collective bargaining at the level of the South African Local Government Bargaining Council. The remuneration of senior managers has largely remained static, as they did not receive any increase for the past 2 financial years, while other staff have received above inflationary increases. This has resulted in the salary of senior managers becoming out of sync with other staff to the extent that managers below senior managers are now any more than senior managers. Most recently, the Minister of COCTA issued a draft upper limits notice for comment. Salga followed an extensive consultation process, resulting in detailed comments approved by the NEC at its meeting held 22 September 2022. In addition to engaging the COCTA ministry to promulgate the upper limits notice for senior managers, the Salga has advanced a view that a more comprehensive review of the remuneration of senior managers should be conducted to correct the unforeseen consequences created by the implementation of two separate remuneration regimes. On the attack of councillors, municipal officials, traditional leaders, as Salga, we are very much concerned about the growing number of intimidation and killing of councillors and municipal officials and damage to the municipal property during service delivery protests. In recent times, this has also been extended to traditional leaders. This is a worrying development in the context that occurrence is countrywide, although with different intensities. These developments have the following negative implications. It threatens the credibility of our democracy. It poses a danger where society in general might develop intolerance, which is harmful to our democracy. It erodes our constitutional imperatives insofar as it does not reflect neither the character of our society nor the will of the people. And it negatively impacts the credibility of local government as a potential area for opportunity for qualified and competent public representative, prospective employees. It is with these negative impacts that it is recommended that COCTA and Salga should be part of the solution and therefore propose the following necessary responses. One, an urgent need to ensure that communities are educated on the roles and responsibilities of different spheres of government through public awareness campaigns and roadshows. Two, launch a national campaign on social cohesion to deepen democracy, promote ownership of local democracy by communities. Three, under the banner of the NCOP, the following to be advanced: to create platforms for engagement with traditional leaders and political parties on the environment with communities and councillors. Salga should convene a special plenary debate on the attacks on councillors and municipal officials. Encourage SAPS and NPA to ensure that the reported cases are investigated and prosecuted. SAPS should similarly apply a uniform, time-sensitive approach of conducting risk assessment for councillors and municipal officials. Jointly, lobby for the provision of security of councillors to be appropriated from the national fiscus. Program Director, this being our first provincial engagement with members since the provincial conference, we felt it's best to highlight these key updates to the members. Together, we indeed have a responsibilities, amongst others, to ensure a sense of urgency in the implementation of the task and directed and entrusted by the conference provincial chair. And in so doing, build a strong, inclusive, and a united voice of local government that is more effective and efficient in carrying out its mandate to the greater benefit of the membership and the communities they serve. Program Director, as I conclude and about to sit down, the 1998 White Paper on Local Government has envisaged a radically new form of local government for South Africa, with the capacity to deliver a much more wider range of goods and services in a very different way than in the past. Municipalities have been given the primary responsible for delivering the long-term development goals of government and address infrastructure backlogs in previous underserviced areas. It is in this context that a new fiscal framework for local government had to be developed to address these challenges. Chair of the province, when I came through the road between Ottosdal and Klerksdorp, that municipality cannot on its own build that particular road. The provincial government must intervene there. Between your Dalereville is better. As you approach Ottosdal, you come through Klerksdorp. President, that road is not drivable at all. So we need an urgent provincial attention. I'm happy that I see the Premier here who would intervene in these instances. So it's something that we need to address out of this provincial members' assembly, that this smaller thing, it's not big. It's just comrades, our members go there as council, as the provincial government, get the resources, close those potholes. Just 2 days, they are done with the road. Public Works must assist them. So it's something that is achievable, President. I'm telling you, if we can, and after this members' assembly, the district mayor can go there and just make an assessment, she'll be very much happy. But they don't have the money to put it together. They must be assisted. It is within this context that Salga has now successfully lobbied for a principal agreement that the funding of local government should be reviewed. Smaller municipalities, President, the same approach of funding for Ekurhuleni, Johannesburg, Pretoria, Nelson Mandela Bay, Cape Town is used for the same small municipality. Like the municipality in the Northern Cape called Kaiharipi, Ditsobotla here in the Northwest. So we cannot use the same formula to address these challenges. Something drastically must be done. Or else, local government is going to collapse in the eyes of all of us. Well, councillors are blamed almost every day about lack of service delivery. And we are not dealing with the root cause. Today is very simple to stand up and say, President, it's because of corruption. It's not about corruption. It's about the funding model for municipalities to carry on their mandates. Why all the time when lack of service delivery is not there, people are talking about corruption? But they are not addressing this aspect. They are not addressing it. So it's not that corruption is the one that is taking away the services of our people. It's lack of funding. It's lack of funding. Now maybe there is money that can come from Mana that will arrive in one of the municipality one day. We don't know that. The sooner we address the issues of local government on this aspect, of local government be funded from the national fiscus. The salaries of local councillors, mayors, and all that are not funded from fiscus, are not funded from there. But the salaries of our own colleagues in the provincial legislature and the national legislature are funded from the fiscus. What is the problem? It's an anomaly. It's an anomaly. So as we sit here on behalf of the National Executive Committee of Salga, we want to say the following. We all agree that as we embark on this journey, it is not an easy journey. In this first term of local government, we must all work together to achieve the vision of a sphere of local government that is truly democratic and people-centered. But the laws sometimes, President, and the legislation on the funding is not democratic and people-centered. It's democratic at the level of the provincial government, at the national level, it's democratic and people-centered. But come to local government, it's just a rhetoric. And we cannot accept that. I feel so very much at pains for the mayors, the speakers, the MMCs. Because when things are not happening, one finger is pointed at them. But the rest of the fingers, where are they pointing at? So in this members' assembly, as I sit down on behalf of the National Executive Committee of Salga, we wish this PMA a fruitful provincial chair, fruitful deliberations for positive and impactful outcomes. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Neo Masekela. Thought-provoking, I should say. but we will reserve the comments we have for the debates. But really, the points that our NEC member touched on are thought-provoking for us that are in the local sphere. Like, I am going to invite ka kgonne re tlo go mo bitsang ha ke kgone le go ka tlama marapo a dieta tsa hae. Jwale ke tlo bitsa the chair of Salga again, Councillor Khumalo Molefe, to come and introduce and further call forth our keynote address as we welcome. Let's kalapa khopa matsogo ha ke ra ke sa le emisa as we welcome the chair.
Thank you very much for not calling me to read the eulogy of the Premier because it would take 2 days. Now, for those of us who do not know the Premier is a former Robben Islander. The democracy that we are standing on is as a result of men and women of his ilk who sacrificed their lives and were maimed so that we can celebrate this democracy. He is none other than our very own. We talked about the manufacturing of leaders in this province. Premier, thank you very much for making it easy for us to be mayors and speakers and councillors and not contesting that space. We see your leadership that is measured. Under your leadership, we are able to experiment and make mistakes. We wish you all the best, and we welcome you to the Provincial Members' Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, coming from the old school, we feel a little bit out of place when you hear. I always get instructions, do this, do that, do that. We have been trained to be averse to accolades and just to put our shoulders to the wheel and not anticipate any praise, and rather to welcome constructive criticism so that we can be in touch with reality and make a serious endeavor to improve all the time. I take this opportunity, Program Director, to thank you very much for affording me the opportunity to stand before these esteemed members of this very important organization. I also extend good morning to the chair, the president of Salga nationally, the chair of Salga in the province, Khosi Mabe, where is he? Oh, how about Khosi Mabe, the members of the Executive Council who are present here today, the executive mayors and mayors, the speakers, the municipal managers, if they are here, the officials from Salga, the members of water boards, and executives from other state-owned entities. It's indeed, it gives me great pleasure to be speaking to you today. I think the sphere of local government, sometimes it's not afforded the respect it deserves in terms of being at the coal face of service delivery. And now, after listening to my leader from my region, the chair of my region, now I somehow tempted to depart from my prepared text, because many of the issues he raised are quite critical. But just to say that I fully endorse the need to relook the funding of local government. We have to go back to the intergovernmental fiscal relations. We have to go back to the DORA. When the system was designed during the early periods of our democracy, we were learning from the experience and maybe copying wholesale from the experience of other countries. And the premise we departed from was that municipalities can generate their own revenue. And so if it happens in Washington, if it happens in London, in Paris, and so on, we could use the same approach. And when we started the process of really building wall-to-wall municipalities, we were confronted by a situation where one municipality was just a rural area. And this approach that we copied from overseas was not going to work in that situation. And so we tried to say, can we amalgamate this and that? If you know, if you look at Kagisano Molopo and Molopo, they were two distinct units. But we thought that if you combine them, maybe this would promote their financial viability. And so they've been combined now, it's Kagisano Molopo. But the financial challenges are still there. If you take another municipality, Joe Morolo, the chairman of my region, I think you were not the mayor there. There were several mayors there, and they tried, and it's a rural municipality, there's no way. And so the debates that are commencing now should also involve, you know, the demarcation of municipalities, how we do this. I think they should focus on a number of issues, not only the fiscal relations, not the transfer of money from national to the local sphere, but look even at the type of the demarcations that we have and so on. But you provoked me, my chairperson of my region, JTG region, you provoked me, and I was at one stage chairperson of that region, but it was not called JTG then. It was called Kalahadi, and so, but I'm pleased to meet you. I was asking myself a question, but now you are in the Northern Cape. What are you doing here? And then I went to the program, and then now I discovered that no, you are representing the province at national, and I congratulate you for being in that position. But November last year, you know, we had elections, and this heralded the appointment of a new breed of councillors. Throughout the country, people were saying that Moshapalong, and they were saying Moshapalong mainly because they wanted to rejuvenate the system, because it is a truth that cannot be debated, that the younger people are more dynamic, have more energy than older people. and that the system, it appears as if it were atrophizing, it was not moving. And so when that happened, we were all very, very excited that the profile of our councillors in terms of age now, when we look at average age, is no more 50, it's going now to 35. And we thought this is a promise for better things to come. And so we went all out to give our blessings and our support to the new councillors. And as the year progressed, we were pleasantly, surprised that there was stability, and there was a sense of working together, a sense of understanding that we are one government with three spheres. We are not separate government. With time in the Northwest, there emerge isolated pockets of instability in Ditsobotla and then in Kagisano Molopo. The instability could be ascribed to a number of things, but chief among them was this thing, I don't know how to label it. I don't know how to label it, it's difficult. It's called political instability. Chief among them was political instability. Contestation between those deployed in the municipality who were supposed to form a single unit. And all of a sudden, separate and sometimes conflictual interest emerged, and they made it difficult for the municipalities to focus on their real mandate. Our hands were tied because we said, let's give them the opportunity to resolve these issues. And we said they are new, and maybe with time they would abandon this route and do what they were expected to do. Later on, we realized the problem was persisting, and we started cajoling and coaxing and pleading and saying, please, our attitude is that you are a government. We cannot usurp your role. We want you to play that role there. We cajoled, we pleaded, but the situation did not improve. And so we decided to resort to this thing. And I'm sure I saw in the program here, we are going to discuss its efficacy. We decided to resort then to measures that are very intrusive, that curtail the democracy that is supposed to be inherent in municipalities, that now we dissolve the council. Because when we dissolve the council, we are effectively saying we are taking away the will of the people. They have elected these people into this council. We are cancelling that. And for us, this is not the step that we take lightly. This is not action that we can just decide we are going to do it. And we would like to have a situation where we don't have to do this type of thing, where the political leadership do not make it, do not compel us to embark on that type of route. But overall, I think in any social enterprise, be it a marriage or be it a love affair between madly in love couples, there will always be differences. Now, if a social enterprise involves too many actors, we anticipate that from time to time differences will emerge. But we think that our maturity and our systems should allow us to address these so that they do not threaten the unity that is required for us to move in a single march, a unified march, so that we do these things. And today, as I'm standing before you now, I'm departing from this prepared text, and I'm going to be in trouble. Today, as I stand before you, I think because this is something that worries us because of its impact on service delivery. Salga should develop a way of dealing with these type of issues. It may be outside of your mandate, but it gives a real negative picture of you as Salga, that your members get elected by communities. Instead of them focusing on real service delivery issues, they compete as to who is going to be chair of the infrastructure committee and so on, and they fight over that, and no one is prepared to compromise. So we need some way of intervening in this situation. We may need some way of saying we want to review a peer review mechanism or something that looks at the councillors and their behavior in municipalities. In the so-called established democracies, if you go to the US or you go to the UK, if you speak to somebody who is a member of parliament in the UK, you say, where are you from? Liverpool. What did you do before? Now he's a minister. Say, well, before I was a councillor, I was a mayor. It's same thing if you go to the House of Senate or House of Representatives in the US. Speak to Secretary of State or Secretary of Health. They don't call them ministers, they call them Secretary of this and that. If you speak to them, say, what did you do before? I was the mayor of Phoenix. And then I became the mayor of Arizona. And then I'm here. So that this is supposed to be training for our future provincial and national leaders. So that when you sit at the provincial legislature after serving 2 terms only here, 2 terms only, 2 only, and then you proceed, you become an MPL. And when people in the legislature speak about matters related to local government, you know, you can, I know, when they talk about challenges in Matating, I know, I was a mayor there, in North Mafikeng, yeah. So that it becomes training and training and training. But now if the local sphere, instead of training, and this is, you know, what is the problem with the brain? And the brain is the one organ in the body that is central. But it has a weakness that we only have problems in less than 5 municipalities in the Northwest. But when you speak to people, say municipalities in the Northwest are collapsing, you know. And so even when we try to advance solution, we speak as if all municipalities are afflicted by this problem. Yeah, but what I'm saying is few municipalities, and we have to do something about it. And I'll be happy if today in your resolutions there'll be something said about the behavior of councillors in council, how we really try to address that. But program director, are you still behind me? We in the Northwest adopted a program we call Accelerated Service Delivery Program. And this program is centered on two priority areas: job creation and service delivery. We really want municipalities to partner with us in rolling out this program. We started very well in Mafikeng with pothole patching and dealing with illegal refuse dumps. We started very well, but with time the program lost momentum. And we would be happy if we could focus on this service delivery. And in municipalities, there may be many things that we are doing. But communities, when they talk about lack of service delivery, they focus generally on 5 areas. And this will be your water, this will be your refuse removal, this will be your street lighting, this will be the condition of the road. Say, this will be the condition of the road. And so we have to ensure that these receive attention. There may be things that we're doing, like the abattoir, like management and regulation of graves and what. But communities want water, communities want electricity, communities want lighting, communities want refuse, they want the potholes to be patched. So we as Salga have to make this our central focus. Yes, someone was telling me, no, Salga is just talking about, it's just like the MPLs when they meet. Are they here? Hey, MPLs when they meet, they talk about, hey man, a travel, how say address at Senamo account to me. So I don't know. Alebo Salga Lord Lord. And I can't travel as speaker. So that whilst it is correct for us to focus on these conditions of employment issues, but we have to see that we do something about service delivery. And like I said, I was quite excited about the youthfulness of our new councillors. And I thought I would see them in overalls almost every week. And I see, where is my favorite mayor of Mafikeng? I see him most of the time in these new suits. Yeah, but I wanted to really put emphasis on the need to focus on service delivery. And it's good, I'll tell you, I'll make an example with Mayor Mpelo, that we were happy. We sometimes pat ourselves on the back and say we were here in 1994 and we with many others brought about transformation in the Northwest. But Mayor Mpelo said, okay, what transformation? Let's look at this municipality of Mafikeng. It has no revenue generating capacity. It cannot sell electricity. It cannot issue driver's licenses. Where will it get money from if it can't sell electricity? And so what has happened is that we inherited local government system of Botswana, and we have done nothing to it. And so we expect Mafikeng to patch the potholes, to do all sorts of things. but they can't sell electricity. Many municipalities are not really making money from property rates. They are making money from a surcharge they put on the sale of electricity. And the Mafikeng municipality is denied that. But even if you look at property rates, around Mafikeng, many, beautiful residential areas are emerging. But they are all on tribal land, and so where is the property? So those are the problems I'm sure Executive Mayor of JTG you were referring to. Or are you at Sikhonyane? Sikhonyane, yeah. But before you were JTG. Oh, so these are some of the problems we have to address. I am fully alive to the problems that constitute challenges to municipalities. And you refer to them: no tax base, no revenue generating capacity, and non-payment of services. And somebody must do a study, relate the non-payment of services to level of unemployment. Because if you are going to discover that the majority of people here in this township of Jobetina are indigent, and so our tax base, you are referring only to the old Klaksdorp, so there's no growth. It's the old Klaksdorp that should support even in terms of the sale of water and electricity. And so these are the challenges I'm sure Noah Masekhala you are referring to, that we have to look at, not only the transfer, but the ability of people to pay for services, to pay property rates and so on. The other challenge that is there in municipalities that I'm fully conscious of is lack of strategic human resources. Yesterday we were in a meeting with MEC Khosho, and she announced that Mr. Danji, who is part of Treasury, very key institution in the province, is leaving. But Mr. Danji is leaving 6 months after the person that he succeeded left. So he's also leaving, and he's a highly competent bureaucrat. And so we can't keep them in the Northwest. And so again there we have to devise strategies. How do you keep competent engineers in a municipality like Lekwateman? How do you do that? One, you must afford the salary. But again, the milieu, the social environment should be such that he wants to stay there. And this is a serious challenge. And this challenge is linked to our inability to expand conditional grants. Because how do you do that when you don't have qualified engineers? This is directly related to spending on infrastructure and ultimately service delivery. And so my leader, Noah Masekhala, also think about how municipalities can retain these scarce skills. There was a narrative developing in the Northwest that people come to the Northwest only to enhance their CVs. And then, they go there. In Gauteng, it will be difficult for this assistant director to be chief director. And so this assistant director, somehow manages our director in the Northwest, stays 5 years, and chief director, and then back to Gauteng. And so people go there to go and enhance their CVs. So we have to look at how can we do this thing of retaining the skills. The other problem is the aging infrastructure. I always listen and listen and listen, and sometimes people who say these things also politicians, particularly from national, the big brothers and the big sisters, say, hey, what is this thing that you cannot get water from Molopo to the communities in Mafikeng? But what is the diameter of the pipe that should convey water from the source to the point of reticulation? Why was it designed like this? Because it was intended to serve a given number of consumers. Now the number of consumers has increased and this thing can't work. But again, this thing has aged. It is leaking here and there, here and there. What is the cost of replacing it? Billions. Who is going to do it? We'll have to speak to the national department. What is the response for the national department? We fully agree with you. Aging infrastructure should be replaced. But this is the budget. This is the budget. We have prioritized Tsunkundu, is it right, Tsunkundu, up there north. And we have also prioritized Malamlela. We have prioritized this one and this one. In the northwest, we have prioritized only these two. What you are putting before us, if you look at the medium-term expenditure framework, may come in 2028. But the people here in Mafikeng say they want these services. And the people from national MPs and MPLs say, you are not giving people services. What's wrong with you? And so again, it comes to that question that is raised by Neo Masekela. How are we dealing with this aging infrastructure? How are we dealing with this aging infrastructure? It has created a conundrum for us because we cannot allow a situation where a community goes without water, even for a day. And so what do? We have established what we call an ops center. People with military training give it a different name. They say it's a war room. We call it an ops center. And so the ops center will get information from various municipalities about the state of water provision there. And they say in that municipality, people have called, they've been without water for 6 hours, for 12 hours. And we try to force the municipality to provide those people with water through some alternative means. And there's only one. That means it's water tankering. And water tankering is fraught with abuse. Because it is the nature of business. When you are in a desperate situation, a business is take it or leave it. And so we are in that situation. So that when you can't provide people with water through the pipes, through the reticulation system, you have to resort to something else. And this something else is also problematic. Of course, I do hear, and this is something that I have not tested, I'm sure the police will, that there are others who distract water infrastructure so that they should continue providing water through tankering. I don't know whether that is fiction or true, but you say people do that. I can't think of a right-thinking person doing that, but you don't know. So, and then there's this other problem that we all here must address, and it's a big challenge. This report from the AG, I tried to explain and I had to withdraw with alacrity, with quick speed, withdraw. I tried to explain, said, President, look at the baseline, where we are coming from. So municipalities in the northwest, they were coming from adverse, now they are here. So this is an improvement. So I realized I must not even try to explain that this is, even if it's a distance of, what is it called, this nanometer, small. I thought we should acknowledge it, but they said that we don't acknowledge. You say it was from adverse, now we don't want that. We really want real, visible improvement, so that they must move from there to that other end. And so I'm going to plead with you so that I can face the president. Municipalities, you know, in the papers, the big headline, in the Northwest, you know, all of them failed the test of the AG, all of them without exception. And so Rustenburg, please do something about it. Madibing, please. Mafiking, please. Yeah. Moses Kotani, please, let's do something about it. Let's do something about it. The AG is very displeased, but where's the president, who is not prepared to listen to this little improvement? He wants to see marked improvement in terms of the AG's report. And I urge you, please, let's focus on it. Again, this could be the subject of Salga peer review mechanism, and also a way of others learning from best practice. If there are performing municipalities, Salga will distribute their strategies as to how they dealt with wasteful, irregular expenditure, and so on, how they improve their internal audit, and so on, so that we do this thing. Because you can do everything. You can provide people with water as long as you get adverse findings from the AG. You are not good enough to be leading that municipality. The last challenge I want to draw your attention to is this perception that municipalities are generally corrupt, they are maladministered, and there's a lot of instability in them. This perception, like I said, in the Northwest, we do have our challenges, but others are trying to do the right thing. And this issue of corruption is an issue that is now being weaponized. If people have their differences, they think oh, I didn't see you in this old age. Okay. Positively. Positively as you, I can say. Malicious. But I was saying this corruption thing is now being weaponized, so that if I don't agree with you, the easiest way to deal with you is to spread the message that that person is corrupt. It's corrupt. And people even go to this, again, it's a story I hear, that they even employ promoters of that narrative. And they deploy them in the media, they deploy them there and there and there, and people start spreading this thing, that so-and-so is corrupt, instead of dealing with differences they have. And so we have to ensure that there's no need for people to say that. We have made progress. Yesterday, as the Executive Council, we said we are going to do this members' disclosure of interest. So we as the Northwest government disclose this thing. And we are also considering this issue of lifestyle audit. You know, let's do the lifestyle audit. And so if you subject yourself to these mechanisms as council, then no one has the right to say you are corrupt without indicating that these instruments proved that conclusion to be correct, and so that we deal with it. The issue of maladministration, sometimes I also try to explain to my family, but hey, irregular expenditure, irregular expenditure
Ora gore madi a gongwana se mo budgeteng go sa budgetelwa se rekiwa madi a dirile seo ha tlhaloso ga ithusi ga te irregular expenditure lo utswa madi. So all these things will have to be clarified so that as my leader now said, Neo Masekela said, the image that we project of our municipalities should be positive ones. Should be, and I am quite confident that we'll get there. We are going to work very closely with municipalities to ensure that we change this narrative. You know, the Northwest, for a long time, people said the Northwest is the university of corruption. You go to national conferences of political parties, this other political party. Man, Northwest Ladibeta, man, you are number one ka corruption. They say this without referring to any studies, anything. Ladibeta corruption, man, man. Now it's worse. Malaysia, barujile di tonki. Barujile di tonki kiri. Barujala la mangopio di bola ya rola radio. But then if you, and sometimes, you know, when you are a leader, like you are the mayor, people want to stampede you into some action. They actually want to block your thinking process and stampede you into some action, say, about haisilo mo suspend. Haisilo nti MEC wa ditonki. Ramon setsa. Hey, mo nti ditonki tse. Monse. So they want to really block your thinking process and push you into some action. So we have to be careful as leaders how we deal with these things. I'm not saying we should countenance and condone corrupt. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying we have to be very careful. We don't want to end up having kangaroo courts, you know, where we just decide on something and later on you take action only to be compelled by the law to reverse it. I mean, why did you rush in the first place? Do things correctly. And always try to give the other parties benefit of doubt. And try to follow the law. Try to follow, don't rush. Hey, ba phone okay tauri ki dira joke. Para emisio sansali thing. You know, and they put you under tremendous pressure. Now we in the province are going to convene. It's a long time since we convened the Premier's Coordinating Council, where we meet with the mayors and the MMs and talk about common strategies addressing common problems. And we are going to convene this meeting soon. And when we convene it, we are going to isolate a few things. I raised this matter at the extended cabinet. You were there, I think. I raised this matter at the extended cabinet that let's address the issue of ESCOM and water debts. I raised it sharply and I actually proposed that there must be an interministerial committee, finance, water affairs, public enterprise. They must address this matter. I don't know whether they've made any progress. Because, you know, when it was announced that ESCOM was going to terminate the supply of electricity to Matlosana, so I really panicked. And I was called by the business chamber. And you know, they called me incessantly. They did not give me a break. After 15, 20 minutes, what are you doing about it? Wait. After 15. And I realized if that were to happen, we would be faced by a revolution. If ESCOM had terminated electricity to Matlosane, Just think about the business, just think about, I'm not talking about load shedding where deliberate the entire town for a longer duration of time. And so we really need to engage ESCOM and the water boards. We really need to engage them seriously. See, let's deal with this. I raised this thing and it did not impress the Minister Praveen, but Minister Praveen, you know, every time you do it, you know, why don't we do it for municipality? What is it that I was referring to? What is it that I was referring to? Bailout. Every time you do bailout for ESCOM, don't we think we should do it for municipalities as well? No. Municipalities, different institutions. You know, he's quite articulate and eloquent, Praveen Gordon, and so if you want to engage him, you must know your story. So he says, no, but this is a matter we should pursue with vigor. Councillor Muhumutsi, this is a matter we should pursue with vigor. We must do something about this debt. It's not only a problem because people are expecting us to pay, but it's a problem because it affects our standing in the eyes of those we approach for loans. Say, but look at your book. You owe ESCOM billions. How can I believe, how can I trust that if I give you a loan, you'll repay it because of this ESCOM debt? So I'm saying this is something that should receive. We also, when we meet, want to talk about this new threat, that we call disaster. We were dealing with DLPAN, with all its complexities. You know, we cannot close our eyes to the socio-economic challenges in DLPAN. But what happened with DLPAN is that here's a disaster, flood. And this is a historical thing, that with forced removals after 1948, people were just dumped in pens, a water pen. But because there was drought, no rain, people thought this is where humans could settle. And then with heavy rains, it has become a pen. And so you find water up to this level in a house, And so we were faced by that serious challenge to try and restore that settlement to what it was before the floods. But you know, DLPAN now has enjoyed elevated media attention. And now anytime they call the media, they come. This government is not doing anything for us. And we want this Apollo light. We want the sports field. We want this. These were not there before. These were not destroyed by the floods. But these are their genuine needs. But we thought we were coming in there to address damage caused by the floods. But now they are raising other issues, and because they are enjoying this new media attention, when they speak to Motswedi, when they speak to that, and they say it, you know, because our government has got norms and standards. They say you do not qualify for a park home. You qualify for a mobile clinic that will come 3 days a week. But because of the pressure they put on us, we ended up giving them a park home. And the demonstration effect, a village next door, bigger than this village, said, but we don't understand this. We are still subjected to this mobile clinic. That small village now has got a park home. And so you see the challenges that are emerging when we deal with these disasters. But now we had DLPAN. Now, last week I was with Mayor Groep in Stella. Some shacks there were flattened by rain. And I called my mayor several times, and I don't want to fight with her in Rustenburg. Because again, I got reports that some residential dwellings were affected by water. Because in Pardekral, is it Pardekral? And so we got a report even this morning from MEC Lena Micha, who is in touch with the disaster management staff there. And then, as if this was not enough, there was fire in Kagisano Molopo. And again, the executive mayor, Maje, is here. I saw him there with a lot of papers outside. He's trying his luck. But you know, he played a critical role in ensuring that the fire is extinguished and so on. And so we are making this proposal that Salga must ensure that every municipality must have a disaster plan. Every municipality must anticipate this. Of course, sometimes to anticipate nature is very difficult. Marema go pene ne le champ ene le gore hela bona pula let's le back ene ka re go hotela gra go hotela go ya ka geography go tla na le orographic rainfall ha go hotela bona pula let's le back go hotela ba gompieno rapella pula e be la 3 days thereafter being so but we can't predict some of these calamities. But we have to do some exercise to anticipate them. And this is a serious matter. I was engaging now with the fire association, and they were saying to me, you know, we can't deal with the situation because we don't do exercises we used to do before. Before we would have some simulation. We'd agree that here in Mafikeng, for the entire municipality of Mafikeng, on the 15th we are going to have this mock fire. And then we want all our personnel to be deployed, including the equipment, the vehicles, and so on, for this duration of time. Now he says to me, you know what happens now? When there is real fire, we dispatch drivers to their trucks, and one tries to switch on the engine, it can't start. One tries to check, there's no water in the truck. There's no fuel in the truck, because we don't have these mock fires at regular intervals to be ready for the fire when the actual fire is there. So municipalities, please, let's prepare for these disasters. What the government is saying is that the provincial government must set aside 1.2% of its budget for disasters, and we did not do that. And municipalities must also seriously think about that. Now, many people are under this illusion that when they have a disaster, National will provide funding. We tried that when we had DLPAN. And you know, I'm sure by now you know what the response is. Do you know now, Masikala, what the response is? Reprioritize within your budget. Now, reprioritize within your budget. Now, and many people were saying, declare disaster. You know, if a disaster is declared, then there'll be money flowing from national. And so when we tried national, they said, And if you fail to reprioritize, you must tell us. You must give us a report. And then only then, and then you must send this reprioritized thing that I attempted to reprioritize. And when you send it, you say you have 3 vacancies here. Say, oh, vacancies, directors for this year, kill them. You say, but this is an engineer. Say, no, kill them for this year so that you can use the money for the disaster. So we have to ensure that we have plans as to how we are going to deal with these disasters. And like I said, we want to work very closely with you, very closely. My general attitude is that there's no problem that we will define as municipal problem, provincial problem, national problem, ESCOM problem. If there's a problem negatively affecting communities, we must do something about it. And I say this to the mayors that I communicate, but I have a problem, the people are suffering, are members of your community. Do something about it. It's whether you are going to mobilize ESCOM to attend to it, or you attend to it yourself. You can't say when people do not have a service, kia ESCOM, or kia water board, or kia district. We must all work together to ensure that we address these problems. Rosa, this year we had what we called a lekgotla in the province. And some mayors attended, others did not. And you know, this exercise of Makotla, the PGDS, Provincial Growth and Development Strategy, Provincial Spatial Plan. The province does not have its own geographic plane. Never, I don't know. Maybe province its own geographic plane. It doesn't. The geographic plane on which the province acts is a municipality, is the local municipality. Now, if the province has convened a meeting to talk about its spatial plan and it invites municipalities and they don't come, or the provincial growth and development strategy, they don't come. Or they come, they stay for a few minutes, they say there are other pressing issues. When we talk about planning in your own geographic space, and so we really plead that when we have these interactions, please do come. I mean, we are emphasizing this point even in the House of Traditional Leaders, that in the Northwest we have about 56 traditional councils. The Northwest is largely rural and under the leadership of traditional leaders. So we can't go and do development there without consulting them, without involving them, without soliciting their views. But sometimes municipalities do not come. Do not come, and this is a serious problem. This was evidence at our last lekgotla. We talked about a lot of things, because sometimes I meet and they talk about my mayor. They say, hey, we are meeting with you, Premier, we want to talk about the airport. But we had a meeting with the mayor, he also talked about the airport. Now, the mayor said something to them about the airport. I'm going to say something to them about the airport. And so in the end, so we have to meet so that our approach, so that the approach is the same. So we have to meet so that we develop a common approach. We want that airport to be a stimulant of development and growth in that area. So it is important for us. That airport is a provincial asset, but it's in his territory. So he has the right to refer to it when he speaks about development in that geographic space, that I want to be part of discussions as to how we can utilize this airport, which is turning into a white elephant because of past problems. I'm sure everybody like the problem is the airport to Ewa. But I want to conclude program director by saying that the other issue that worries me about your participation, of course I'm happy about the DDM, though I hear that some want to limit it to being a theoretical engagement. Now, DDM, what is a DDM? A DDM? Its practical applicability, we have not yet witnessed. We want to see that because it's intended to ensure that we don't work in silos and we combine our resources and we save resources for maximum impact. And so we wish to see how that is working. But one area where I'm worried, again, where I think there's some pedestrian attitude is the issue of HIV/AIDS. Do we have district councils to deal with this pandemic? And this is something we must take quite seriously, so that as a district municipality, as a local municipality, am I dealing with this this pandemic? So Salga, please ensure that you deal. This is a national campaign. And linked to this, it's another campaign which is worrying us, which is worrying humanity, is the gender-based violence. I don't know why municipalities are muted on this matter. They just decided to mute themselves. And we'll need to get some IT specialists to unmute them. So that Koketjo Muhumutsi, we must have vigorous, well-planned, consistent, continuous, gender-based campaigns in our localities. We must have them, and municipalities, like I said, this is the new struggle. Gender-based violence is a new struggle. And this is a difficult struggle because of patriarchy, negative aspects of patriarchy. Men are both perpetrators and beneficiaries of negative patriarchy. And men are generally leaders in society. And so they have to liquidate their sexist tendencies. And they benefit from them, whether we like it or not. And for them to liquidate these tendencies, it requires a serious campaign. And so this issue of gender-based violence, you know, sometimes I really get disappointed and sometimes even disillusioned when you even see that women are not leading in this campaign. No one, you can go and read, is it Martin Luther King or is it, who was it? No one will ever give you your freedom on your platter. You have to fight for your freedom. I can hear this thing and I agree with it, that men must support women in fighting this scourge. But women, nobody will give you your destiny. You have to fight for your destiny. But sometimes I get quite disappointed that women are not doing it. This should be a campaign that we propel, that we drive with the same energy and vigor and commitment that led us to our freedom. This is the second revolution of freeing, and we can't say, yeah, awareness will do it, because gender-based violence thrives on inequalities between men and women. That's where it thrives. We have to ensure that women are empowered. I mean, as the fulcrum, I mean, as the central pillar of fighting gender-based violence, it's empowerment of women. Women who are economically and financially independent, they won't tolerate this nonsense of men taking advantage of them. They won't. Just say, you worrying? They'll say, go to hell. Go and hang yourself. And so we plead with municipalities. And let's start this with the young ones. Let's start educating them. Gender-based violence. I mean, I was given this report, and you know, it's a verbal report over the telephone. Over the telephone. I was told about this girl in Lichtenberg, 12-year-old girl. She was stabbed several times. You know, I mean, I just felt I could not take it. They cut out her vagina. I just could not take it. This person was relating to me over the phone. What these people did to this poor girl. And if we are not making our little contribution towards ending this pandemic, we will be told that we are complicit. And we will have no chance to deny it. If you don't make your little contribution towards ending gender-based violence, you must just say, mea culpa, guilty as charged. So I really urge all of us, and Salga, let's lead in this thing of gender-based violence. Let's ensure that we participate in this campaign. I'm saying this campaign must take a momentum similar to the one that led us to our freedom today. I want to say you, program director, I just learned now the day that I don't know, people who know English will help me, that the term master of ceremonies referred to a principal at the initiation school. Were you there when they told us the story? You were there. That when you say master of ceremonies, you are referring to the principal of the initiation school. So it's better if I say program director. But thank you very much. And in conclusion, I wish this assembly great success, and may the resolutions emanating from here help municipalities and the province find lasting solutions to challenges of service delivery. Thank you very much.
Re lebogile thata Tonakgolo for the insightful and very informative speech. Colleagues, we are not doing well in terms of time. Can we request councillors to settle down? I'm not sure what's happening there. Empa here towards live banning remorao kanako, but job. We are then going to proceed to our messages of support. We are left with 2 more items before we can break for lunch. I will consult if we can club together tea break and lunch given what the time is, so that we don't have to go up and down. I will consult whilst we take our messages of support. There is a saying that to love a king is not bad, but to have a king that loves you is better. Let's invite to the podium our Honorable Khosi Mushi Mabe to come and give us a message of support. Can we welcome Khosi Mushi Mabe with a warm... Hey, no, ke tla go protesta ko bathong ba ne ba type dio tse ke kopa maitshwarelo Khosi. Let's welcome our king with a warm hand of applause once more.
Ke a leboga motsamaisa tiro, program director, ke tse tshunwe ke dumedise tonakgolo, tonakgolo ke solofela gore ke tlisitse madume go tswa go magosi ya province ya Bokone Bophirima le bogosi in general in South Africa. Ke tse gape tshone ke dumedise bakhuduthamaga ba ba go potapotileng, ke tsa gore ke team ya go ya o itshepileng e o dirang le yona, megosho, ga ke tse gore mokhuduthamaga wa ka o teng mme lena mmiga, ke solofela a le teng, ke tse tshone ke dumedise the Speaker of our legislature, Medanke, the Chairperson of Salga, and also the Mayor of Ngaka Modiri Molema, Remo Lefe. Ga ke batlo go ba bolella gore ke amana le wena ba tlo ba re sentlentle ke mo lesikeng la we are born leaders. Ke tse ke dumedise majoro men nikiwe wa kgaolo re le mo go yona le bo majoro ba di kgaolo, our local mayors, our councillors, members of Salga, the president of Salga, and also the national office bearers of Salga. We feel very humbled to have been invited to this assembly. I just want to correct, in the northwest, Renale Modula Stilo Omoncha, one Yabohosi ki Khosi Mao Toy, Hotsako Pizzi di Suleja, Kenefela Tala Bang Hore, how they died, but Hakena Karabo, Kene Modula Stilo Omoncha, Mobukone Bupirima, Mutaza Modula Stilo ki Khosi Mabalan. By electing Khosi Maotwe as the new chair, it made me a veteran in the institution. So now, I am chairperson emeritus. The emeritus means what? So, chairperson emeritus of the house in the province. Now, I stand here on behalf of Mahosi in the province as I'm being delegated because I've been doing this. And I know as I was deploying, I also admit to be deployed to show the young coming leaders that a mature leader is the one that can lead from any position. You can lead at the back, you can lead in the middle, and you can even lead in the front. That is a mature leader. Now, as the Premier was talking here and talking about young leaders, that we agreed to bring new leaders in the space of local municipality. But you must bear in mind there is one principle that you cannot just do away with. And that principle is what we call natural selection. It's a very serious principle that you must always adhere to. Now, at one stage, there was this young ecologist who was tasked, given a job in Pilansberg Game Reserve. And this young ecologist lacked experience. And what he did, they took away all the old bull elephants in Pilansberg National Park. They culled them Kali means they sold them to other areas. And you know what happened? A disaster befell Pilanesberg National Park, where the young bulls started to fight and destroy the vegetation and also killed the rhinos in the park. Why? Because they did not have an old bull that can lead them. And what they did, they went to Namibia and bought 2 old bulls back in the park. And they started, they started fighting the young ones, and the young ones started to behave. And they show them that you don't mate with rhinos, but you mate with other elephants. Because young bulls felt, they are equal to the rhino, then they started doing that. So in the municipality, you must also do the same. As you bring young blood, let it not be 100% young blood. They will start to do what they did in the Zowatla local municipality. And now you had a problem. Now you had to cull. You had to cull the whole council. So that is a principle that we must always learn, that as we bring young people, we cannot abdicate the running of the country to young people without showing them how to do it. You must drive them, show them the reins, so that this country can always be in good hands and always have new leaders that will be coming when now we retire. So that is the principle of natural selection. That is why you will not have old people dying and only have young ones. That will be a disaster. Now, as we are here, we have come to convey our message of support. And not only a message of support, we are also, reminding our councils to perform their duties well. Salga, together with the provincial government, they have to work together and not hesitate also to discard the odious councils, which do not bring joy, do not bring development to the municipality and to the people, so that you make sure that the province can be looked differently from what the Premier has just said. In an expedition of hunting, and the history has to be written, and the history is written by hunters, the glory will always go to the hunter. But if the lion themselves can start to write the history in the expedition of hunting, they will show and they will talk about how they scared hunters, how hunters ran away from them. Now, by that I mean, as Salga, you must always become the mouthpiece of local municipalities. We should not always hear what is happening in our municipalities by, in the media. If municipalities are performing well, it's not news to media. But if they are not, it becomes news. And that story you can see in the WhatsApp. He said, the message has been forwarded many times. Now, if a bad thing happened in a particular municipality, there is going to be what we call retweets. Messages sent many times, forwarded many times. And when it's forwarded many times, it shows as if it's a new story, only to find out it's something that happened in the past. Because I come from the rural area, when you go to that pit toilet, where you don't have toilet paper, and you find an old newspaper, and you relax, and you read the news. When you come out, you say, have you heard? Only to find out that newspaper was paper from 1972. It happened. So if the Salga cannot become the mouthpiece of its own members, then we will say what is happening in municipalities, whether wrong or right. That's what is going to happen. So we are here to urge our councils, now that they are new, to say, let's arswabisen sata. in the Northwest, let us turn new leaf. Let us begin to do things right. Let us not dance to the gallery, but let's fold our arms. Let us but we wish this assembly a success. The deliberations and even the resolutions that will be taken to us as traditional leaders. Tona Kholo, I so wish to see, and the chairperson of Salga has made that undertaking. We want to see under one roof all MECs, all mayors, speakers, the speaker of legislature, the speaker of municipalities, the chief whips, under one roof. And the Khosi must speak their voice. And councils also speaking their voice, so that we can dispel the myth of non-cooperation between the institution and traditional leaders. We want to see that happening because we want to be part of the development, not part of the problem in developing the country. We wish you all the best. Apulayen.
Thank you very much. Generational mission has been unpacked and made so easy to understand. Generational mix. And I hope that we have properly captured it because it can't be simplified any further than that. Let's then invite honorable councillors and honorable members. The only person that can suspend all other speakers when she is amongst us, hariri speaker ke ene fela o ska emela re re sa matlosana sa ko madibeng hela yalo. So let us invite the honorable speaker of legislature, Ms. Susana Danchi.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Yanong jaka moruti o lebetse go tlhalosetsa phutego gore ge mmusa khotla a ema ntlo ya ema, the house must rise. Hasenna, you are not rising for Basetsana, you are rising for the position. Not Basetsana, for the position, not myself. Thank you very much, honorable members. Thank you very much, honorable members. You may be seated. I woke up the Nakholo power. And I can move from Buatsela, you saw the hella from Matatiama Vediana. What is Yam? No, like it's a chonu egg, you made the second Mosalga Makwa, Chomiwa, the Tokumal, Hela Choma, get la liga. Get a chonu egg, you made this. Kidu medise mu president wa rona wa Salga, kidu medise monna Setilo le batlatsi ba gage ba komiti ya rona ya province ba didika le ba botlhe ba ba dirang le bone mo komiting ya bone ya province re a leboga gore be re krile taletso president and the chair of the province of Salga. Re leboge all the troikas tse di leng teng mo gare ga rona le ba embarona ba bangwe ba re ka tswang re bala le ditse go nna teng. Ke leboge honorable MEC Megosho, ke leboge tona kgolo ya rona ntate Maape, re ikokobeditse. Re leboge kgosi ya rona kgosi Moshemabi, nna gongwe ka letlhogonolo ke kgosi e mpusang ke kgosi e ke ikarabelang ka motlase ga yone. Re ikokobeditse mongwa mmu e re fela fa ke simolle ka mo o weditseng ka teng kgosi ya rona. Towards the end of your message of support, you raised a very critical point where as traditional leaders you want to see the legislative sector, the governance sector, and the local government sphere under one roof, because it's very important, Khosi. The role of the legislature is to hold the executive accountable. The role of the executive is to bring services closer to our people. Though in most cases, the local government sphere, because so it's not a mistake when that is happening. And fortunately, among the sessions that we have been having with Kgosi Arona since 2014 was the same issue. We had an intention of implementing that program 2 years ago. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we could not implement the program of taking the legislature to the people. But for this financial year, fortunately, the provincial treasury through Mekosho, they have agreed to also finance us. Our intention was to hold that program on the 6th of December in Mahikeng. And unfortunately, due to the by-elections in Disobotla, we have to postpone that activity. Our intention was to hold that activity prior to the SOPA, but unfortunately we'll have it after the SOPA, but it will be before the end of financial year, Tonakgolo. That activity is very important because as the legislature, we then realized our key mandate to the people, because the communities will be there and holding all of us accountable. And in that session, you will see the president will do the same. From next week, he will be in KZN, taking parliament to the people. That program is very progressive because you can't say, I don't have answers. MECs and the Premier must respond to the issues of our community immediately. MECs and Premiers must respond to the House resolutions, or how far are they, the petitions, how far are they. It's very effective in holding the executive accountable. At least we are there, and we are implementing on that one. And on my chairperson, Dr. Kumalo, Motutlehi, Modula Sitilo wa Salga, we have quoted the most relevant quote, yeah, Maya Angelou. And I think we must really appreciate that, because some of these quotes, when they are quoted, they revive something in us. And as you are quoting that, I could see generally members in this house were energized. In a way, you have elevated their spirits somehow. You might have your own reasons for quoting that, but I also want to remind you of one quote of Maya Angelou, as I quote it. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude, close quote. That's how it works. And it also, one, I'm not sure if it's the program director or you saying, if one finger is pointing at this one, the rest of the fingers are pointing somewhere. Chinua Achebe says, if you don't like my story, write your story. So if indeed there are these negative things that you don't like, that the public are saying about local government, that the public are saying about councillors, you have that full responsibility to change your attitude. You have that responsibility to write your own story. That is your responsibility. Nobody will come. You cannot expect Salga president to come to your municipalities and write your stories and change your attitude. Never. It must start with you. What they can only do as Salga is to assist you with those wings to fly, but they will never fly for you. So that's in essence, or what we are saying, Tate Khumalo is true, but as the local government councillors, we have responsibilities as councillors and we have responsibilities as individual councillors. The other thing that is very important, Honorable Chairperson, is that sometimes we forget little things. We must be respected, because respect is something that you earn. It does not just come from the tree. No, you must earn that respect. Time management is one of the pillars of discipline. If you say you start your assembly at 8:30. You start at 11, something 11. What does that mean? There's no discipline. The first thing that you ask yourself, what is happening in your municipalities? Are your meetings taking time, starting on time? Your council sittings are not starting. So it was very embarrassing. We are leading our people. We are the example. If we are just failing on a simple thing, time, and Honorable Tunakul was in the legislature on Tuesday, I said the same thing to honorable members. Was in the legislature, it has never happened before. It was for the first time. And we cannot accept that. So some of these Molayana things that I'm saying, you undermine them. Is how your dress code. You don't have to buy new clothes. But you can't be an honorable member of already teki or assembly near Salga. Never. You don't have for wapare sutu. No, How can you wapara sutu? You can't come to this assembly, kajin, because it reflects horomang. That is part of your character. That is part of who you are. You don't have to go and buy new clothes, this and that. No. I want to know casually. Or smart. Smart casual, formally. Because there's no need to be formal. Maybe, no. There's a reason why, because not a how le re o ka se tsene go khotla o sa apara baki how le mme o ka se tsene go khotla o sa rala o sa bofanyana mo magetleng but now you don't respect our gatherings go re go tsoga fela phakele ka re o drop go wetse go tsama o itlela mmere go wetse ke o drop. So it cannot be correct. And I'm raising this thing because some of these things was radinyatsa, maridi botlhokwa. Because there are things that when you speak, when you present, you offer confidence as a person. But you can confidence all-star. Unless you attend the mahika, yes. We don't expect to roll the taku, low bua, mahika, and tatokumalo. Sounds on the flexible, but Shaba wonder who they were representer. How you know who is the mayor, Ubula Mahika Mahikeng? It's also all-star. So those are the smaller things. Senogori, Radi undermine. There's one key stakeholder I think we did not acknowledge, the Auditor General South Africa. I also want to take this opportunity to acknowledge your presence. It's very much important. I also want to you have missed. Some of us were able to take our miracles. We are able to take something back home to say, ka the assembly ya Salga, gona le mmemongwe. O re buletse ka lefoko la modimo a re bulela ka thapelo. Because that tapelo sa banyatsa, it might have touched all of us because it was so relevant to the current situation in the country and to your situation as the public reps. So now I really want to appreciate Mama, tapelo ya gago e matla, modimo o matla, and indeed modimo o gotlhe. Now I received my miracle this morning. I'm not sure how I really miracle. She talked to me and I'm very much happy and I'm humbled. You are opening your tapelo. Coming to the botata ke gore go ka re ba setsana a bue o sa mo fe nako o tlo nna le mathata ke bone kwa dile mara bone tona kgola bua 2 hours so I thought re khona go iroba as long as program director say bui gore nne resolution ya kopano then mo go nna o tlo nna le mathata ona le khosho wa itse gore yo a go bonolo go ema mare ke tlo batla go disappoint ba bantsi ka itse ba bantsi ka montse ba re yo ka se fetse ke tlo fetsa mara let me firstly take this opportunity Salga president because when you are in this meeting you must refer to you that Khumalo are some mona yano Rabana, the national leadership. When the president is in the province, you recognize the president, you don't recognize the premier. So don't be surprised that maybe you undermine Ntate Khumalo, maybe you take the president fale le fale. But mo di hopotseng Ntate Khumalo, I'll do it. Ke le thabo really go nna gore ke be ke invite on behalf of the Northwest Provincial Legislature to this assembly. Those who have been there before might say the Speaker of the Legislature in most of gatherings Salga will delegate members of the Legislature, but why this one, the Speaker decided I have to be there. I'm not well, to tell the truth, but I felt that from its inception, this Salga president, they know there's a legislative arm of the state. They came to the legislature, and we engaged. And as and when Ra engaged, including the administration Salga in the province. So there's a very good and healthy relationship between us and them. So for me not honoring this kind of an activity, I felt so I made it a point come rain, come shine, I must attend this activity because of Trompo ele refanyone. You must return that Trompo to Salga because really you are giving us much respect as the legislature. If there are issues, you are raising those issues with us. And this activity, the assembly, our communities are raising serious service delivery issues. So it's relevant, it's important. We can say whatever we want, we can speak big English, big Setswana. But if we don't talk about things that affect our communities, we must forget it. We can explain the issues of the budget and everything else. But the people there, they voted for us because they wanted change. And change is what they want to see. Without that service delivery, we must forget it. Unfortunately, we must forget it. And I also want to remind you, honorable councillors, that in Matthew 20, verse 25 to 28, Jesus tells his disciples that leaders should not exercise authority over the people. Instead, whoever wants to become great must lower himself to be a servant. Leaders should realize that serving others is the only way to lead with a pure heart, free of pride and arrogance. That is something that not only councillors, because this arrogance is not only on councillors. Most of us as the public reps, sometimes when we engage our communities, sometimes we forget those are the same people, and those are the same people so that is why, whatever the situation, we must try to please our people. It's not easy, but how to engage communication is very much important. We want to plead with our ward councillors in particular that if we have promised our people something and the budget is not enough, go back. I agree with IDP or heaven and earth. Unfortunately, your understanding on how the system works is not the same understanding that they have. So the most important thing to also explain the budget process, the situation is in terms of finances. And immediately after the budget has been adopted, you must go back to the same people. Go back to them and try to make them understand gore unfortunately le menyana le rena le lone ke ile. And in most cases le mmele rena le lone leo o fitlhele what ena le metse ile 11, I think is what one go Moses Kotane. So there is no way that budget ya masipala ko Moses Kotane can be able to accommodate all 11 villages in one financial year. No, but it is our responsibility as the public reps to make sure that the people of Ward 1 understand. But if we sit metsi ko Masibudule, iwela mo Ward 1 maybe, I'm not sure ka the villages, ngwaga tlang go boisa gape motlakase, ngwaga tlang go boisa gape di mask light. Mara kwa ngola te disu ba fe sepe o ya go nna le mathata, province ya rona ke province e tletseng Batswana thata ne Batswana ba dumela mo goreng bana ba motho ba kgaogana tlhogo ya tsie. Now if ngwaga o file motse o ngwaga o tla mo fa motse o o tlo bona ba ka se go lwantse, but if you continuously o deliver services ko motseng o mo one o ya go nna le mathata, no matter how you explain it. That is arrogance, that is pride. That is why baagi ba rona re ba bone ga ba le voutela ba voutile ka bosokodi, baagi ba le bantsi ga ba vouta, because we have demonstrated over the years gore we don't take them serious, re itsa serious re le banosi. And as the leaders of the people, ke tla le ka go bala gore ke tle ke fetse ka pele ne ha nga tlhalosa ko le jaka nako. And as the leaders of the people operating at the cold face of service delivery, councillors must continuously reflect on how best we can strengthen oversight and accountability. I've always said to the speakers through the Provincial Speakers Forum, the issues, President, something that we must address, of accountability and oversight at the level of the municipalities. Hey, Ibletinyana. Our speakers don't have powers. These MPECs don't have powers. When you compare them to the provincial legislatures and the national parliament, to be honest, they are toothless. Rababisa about oversight for the sake of calling them oversight. If you check the oversight model that is being used by national and provinces, it's not there. It's not there. If the Troika can meet as one and discuss all other issues, then something is wrong, President. I don't meet with Tonakolo, no. How will I hold Tonakolo accountable? And that is a system in the municipality, and that is something that we must deal with. We must address this thing, accountability and oversight in the municipalities. The speakers and the MPECs don't have powers. Whereas with the MPECs, they don't even have resources. They don't have resources to Nakolo. I'm not sure for how many years I've requested MEC Copter, MEC Finance, can't you intervene? Because we are all in agreement on our municipalities have the resources. Sometimes it's not like resource. But our request from the legislature point of view, can't you from the provincial government find a way in funding the resources of these MPECs through COCTA, of course. Till now we tried from the legislature, if you remember, we'll buy laptops, iPad for all of the speakers. We are told that the AG, that is not your mandate. Tina wanted to do it. But it's really our plea, our plea for many years, try to check the resources. Honorable Hosho knows those challenges that the MPEC. If possible, I know, I was engaging with Honorable Hosho, I know what are the challenges, but if possible, the MPEC over resources, our iPad, Inyana, cut this budget adjustment. Our talk about 100 Yobazama. Cut budget adjustment, just 100,000. But the reality, we expect them to do wonders. They don't have resources. In terms of administration, the researchers, there is no capacity. There is no capacity. If myself as the speaker, I cannot get a report on my own, I will need researchers. Researchers are doing that for us. We must not come here live molona. Legislature researchers are doing that for us. So our life becomes easier. We also have researchers, the political party, Honorable Hosh. Mar MPEX, the researchers are either have the researchers or researchers have that relevant skill, sa finance. That is the responsibility of the provincial government to make sure those researchers banally skill sa finance. Otherwise, shem, ba isa report go counseling, counseling report sa ba favor, ba ibusa ba bate ba favorang. Because ga bana matla. And I want to give you an example like Auditor General. AG before was doing all this work. Onasna matla. No ya no na le letlanyana. La go raka bula di case nyana after exhausting some processes nyana I ditseng ha bona gore this HOD ke ba ntloleng o ba ntlotse. Then aga nna mo tshwarisa mmulela khetse. Before the AG did not have those powers. So this is the same situation re na le nyana di MPEC tsa rona gore ba teng mareshem ga re khone go ba thusa re ba khone go etsa mmereko wa bona. Acceleration of services in our communities should be a non-negotiable priority at all levels in this sphere of government. During the campaign for local government, the ruling party made a commitment building better communities. Are we really building better communities? That is the question that we must ask ourselves and we must respond. This commitment can only be realized if you come out of this assembly resolute and firm that time for mediocrity is over. It's time to roll up our sleeves and pull hands on the deck. Salga would have missed an opportunity if this assembly fails to sharply address the culture of poor work ethics, wastages, lacks of accountability, poor handling of the public purse, depoliticization of the administration, challenges of urban decay, and professionalizing the local government. In this month of November 2022, local government councils are turning 1 year in office, honorable councillors. Do you have a good story to tell our communities? Do you have a good story to tell? In our last meeting, somebody saying yeah. I hope that somebody who's saying yeah must come from Madibe. We had our own, when was it? Provincial Speakers Forum. Only Madibe was able to give us a feedback that the mayor of Madibe, 100 years in office, would relay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 100 days, my apologies, 100 days. 100 days, it was only, all our speakers were there. My other speakers were not able to speak with confidence about you majoros. But the speaker of Madibeng and the MPEC, they had that confidence. Proof or not, this is what our mayor did in 100 days. When we were holding you accountable, it was only Madibeng. So, and we must appreciate what Madibeng did. On our councillors, the theme of this conference resonates well with many of us in the province who are faced with service delivery challenges, poverty, joblessness, conduct crime, gender-based violence, and high level of inequality. I'm not going to elaborate more on some of the things because Tonakulu have already touched some of those things. The legislatures recently in 2022 September hosted the Provincial Speakers Forum, where we reflected on the work of municipalities and how we can build strong collaborations with different stakeholders to improve service delivery. This is in line with the district development model, which aims to improve the coherence and impact of government service delivery with focus on 44 districts, 8 metros around the country, as a developmental space that can be used as centers of service delivery and economic development, including job creation. Key to our discussions at the Provincial Speakers Forum were issues relating to water shortages, electricity challenges, and how we can improve audit outcomes in our municipalities. I agree with you, Honorable Chair Ntate Khumalo. Sometimes councillors are branded negatively. There's nothing good that we say or our communities are saying about our councillors. I really sympathize with you. And I hear you to say everything that our communities or the leadership, they talk to Kadi Maspala, but we are only corruption. But the reality is some of the things that are happening, not only in the municipalities, even in the provincial, national government and legislature, some of these things are happening. Our communities bakaswale matlo. No, bakaswale matlo. Gore bonnete le boammaruri. Motho a otha tankering. A o gametse ya masepala mahala. A ba wa rekisetsa masepala. E bo re ga se corruption o se bitsang selo seo. Ntate Khumalo. O se bitsang selo seo. That is corruption. A gona ka mokgwa mongwe o re ka se bitsang ka teng. If there are some, I don't want to be quoted otherwise, some councillors, Baba khonang go latella bo rakontraka. What do you call that? O batlang go rakontraka o le councillor was oversight. Yeah? That is corruption. That is corruption. Ntate Khumalo. That is corruption. So it's just that program director we make a mouth. But I can go on and on and on. We can't say there's no corruption. It's there. So now I only plead you what the DA-led government in Zarona. But 80% must service our people. And I'm not saying go still this 20%. No, I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. But the reality is then that Khumalo and as what you must do from this assembly must condemn and come with measures. But if you want to leave this Salga meeting and say there's no corruption in municipalities, Comrade Khumalo, no, I don't agree with you. And as I conclude, I'll try to respond to some of the issues that were raised because that is also our responsibility, not just to leave this meeting as it is. We fully support Salga in terms of a new funding model for our municipalities. We fully support Salga, and that's what we have been saying all along. And in most cases, honorable members, Salga is there to support you, but you must also support yourself. That is very important. There's a lot that I wanted to say on that one. But also, maybe I must also agree with, though I'm not convinced, I'll still do my own research. I'll agree with Salga that we must also relook or review the act itself that governs the municipalities and Salga. There's something wrong somewhere that you can't have Salga and you have Cocta that still have more powers as if there's no Salga. Then there's a lot of contradictions in terms of the role of the Cocta and the role of Salga. With those few words of mine, honorable members, the program director is not fair. He only gave me 10 minutes to speak, but as a law-abiding citizen, I will concur. I wish you all the best. Engage robustly, but be honest. Don't try to be too inward looking, because that will be the greatest mistake that we are doing. So if there's something that you must engage robustly on, do so. Do checks and balances. But at the end of the day, you will have answers. And we really appreciate those municipalities to know whether the president agrees or not or whoever. The reality is there's an improvement. It might be slightly, but there is an improvement in our audit findings study Maspal. We must really appreciate that. And from the legislature point of view, The tabling of annual reports have drastically improved. AGC, I can tell you, has drastically improved because those are our reports. So and now we really want to appreciate that. I wish you all the best. Hateke network, enjoy. Agelang baagi ba rona bophelo in this assembly. Not only you, baagi ba rona. Service delivery must be key and lead in your debates. Enkosi siyabulela.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Unkinele matso metsing a se nna wa 10 minutes ke pampiri e ngwetse mo pampiring. Councillors, this is what we are going to do. We are now 2 hours behind our schedule. So we are going to invite the chair and the PDO to come and present gifts. It will not take long. To our 3 honorable guests, let me invite the Honorable Premier of the Northwest, Khosi Yarona Khosi Mabe, and the Speaker of Legislature, Speaker Danki. Please, ke kopa le tle mo pele. The chair and the PDO will be handing over gifts to the 3 speakers. As they come to do that, let me quickly deal with announcements that immediately after this process, we are going to request councillors and everyone in plenary to grab tea, coffee, anything you need, and come back to plenary. As